just because President Trump has won the nomination and he's ahead of Biden and everybody else thrown in there in the polls does not mean that these never-Trumpers in the Uniparty have just said, okay, Trump's going to win. They've started several new narratives, and we're going to go through some of them in the beginning of the podcast here because this is just what you're going to have to do. Now, Biden did an interview, and this is a quick clip. Let me play this for you. And Biden is talking about Trump, of course.
What, in your view, constitutes the primary threat to freedom and democracy at home?
Donald Trump. Seriously. Donald Trump uses phrases like you're going to eviscerate the Constitution. He's going to be a dictator on day one.
Okay, that dictator thing
that's just ridiculous.
That's called sarcasm. Okay, the biggest threat to democracy. And, an argument can be made that Joe Biden's out of it. He doesn't know what he's saying. Okay. But I think Joe Biden, even though he was mumbling a lot there, the man with the nuclear football was mumbling there through part of that. We could hear what he said. I think Joe Biden means that. And the reason I believe that, that's what they all think. Okay. All of these, what Tucker Carlson calls it the permanent Washington class. They all believe that. And, listen, we don't win every election. Many times I have supported people, I have voted for people, and they've lost. And that's the way it is. And then you come back in a couple years and you try again until you win. That's the way it is. I've been doing this for a long time. But this thing about Biden with the biggest threat to democracy, I think he means that. And this is why. To the permanent Washington class, without them being in charge of the country, democracy has been lost. They don't have the same definition of democracy as we have. And, we've got Washington, D.C., this dumpy town that was built in a swamp. Really, it was, right? And that's the capital. They rule us all. The lobbyists are there. The congressmen are there. And everything, the bureaucracy is there. And I'm not talking about either of the political parties. I mean, it's all, it's all one big happy family. It's kind of like, remember Taylor Swift in one of her concert tours years ago? It's her world, we're just living in it. These people in the permanent political class in Washington believe this is their country. We are just living in it. And we are not to have a voice in the government. And if they're not running everything, democracy's been lost. So I think as much as he's out of it, even there with the mumbles going on, I think he means it. What do you think?
No, I disagree on that. I think that the deep state is worried about Trump. They're worried about his support, and I think that this is their new narrative now. One of the new they're going to go hard on abortion. And they're going to go hard on that he's going to be a dictator and rip up the Constitution. I don't know where that came from. That's so ridiculous. Nobody's going to believe this. They're using more fear tactics. I think Biden says what he's told to say. I don't think he's in control of his mind or even his own capacities. I think he's led on a leash, and he made a deal with the devil, and he says whatever he is told to say. Whoever is feeding him those lines, that's the narrative they're going with. And he will say whatever they want him to say. He's a puppet. Mm-hmm. And this whole narrative of now Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're calling her what'd you say, Marjorie?
Moscow
Marjorie. So they have new narratives going on that more Russia, and that Trump's going to rip up the Constitution. The American people are so burned out on the media lying to them. And we have a story coming up about this editor that was with the NPR admitting it. The people are so fed up with the lies of the media. They're not going to believe anything these people are telling them anymore. They finally, I think, have realized they're being totally manipulated.
No, yeah, you're right. I agree. I think that Biden, obviously, I don't think we disagree too much on this one point. Biden's out of it. Yeah. He does do what he's told. But I think him and the Washington insiders believe that anyone other than who they choose, like if it was Nikki Haley that had the nomination and they were talking about, well, if Nikki Haley won or Ron DeSantis won, they wouldn't be saying democracy would be lost. It's
I don't
only
think
because
Biden-
Trump's not part of their circle.
I don't think Biden believes Trump is a threat to
Well, I don't mean-
democracy.
I don't mean-
think he knows he's gaslighting people.
I think the establishment believe that. Now, the other thing is this thing about tearing up the Constitution. He said in Visceral. That's the second time we heard it this week because that one actress that had the meltdown was talking about the Constitution.
Yeah, that's how you got to follow the crumb trail.
So that's a new narrative. Just tearing up the Constitution and variations of that. Then there's
I think Trump's a threat to the deep state. I think that's the real threat, and that's what they're and the American people are asserting their freedom and their right to choose who they want to lead. They see that as a threat. They don't want us to remember. Who is it that said, Joy Behar, that said we shouldn't be allowed to choose or something, that the voters,
Behar.
that we're too stupid to choose our own president. And, we don't want that to happen. We don't want the people to decide. That's the real threat is the American people asserting their vote and choosing who they want to lead.
And another narrative, there's several narratives that they're really, harping on right now. One of them is an oldie but a goodie, and it's Russia and Putin. And they're saying today that Trump has greenlit Putin's destruction of Ukraine. So he told Putin, okay, you can destroy Ukraine. That comment came from Brennan, the ex-CIA director. And if you remember, Trump took his security clearance away. So that guy has no credibility in anything he says because he's so humiliated by that fact, which is something that's never happened before. But that's another part of their new narrative. And this thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Moscow Marjorie, they think that, has a ring to it. Marjorie Taylor Greene's moving to get rid of Mike Johnson as the Speaker of the House. And we really only have a one-seat majority, maybe two. It's hard to keep track. These guys are resigning all the time, and I don't know if the latest one hasn't quite gone through yet. We got another week or two, but we're going to have a one-seat majority soon. And she made the motion, but she didn't file it to start the process. And a lot of people, they don't like this thing where a speaker can be tossed out. See, the way it worked before, when the House elected a speaker, they were there for the 2 years, and there was nothing you could do about it. And when all that deal making with the 12 votes for Kevin McCarthy made a concession, which was Trump's thing. Trump came up with this, and then he did it through Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. They changed the rules where any member of the House can at any time force a vote on the new speaker. And that's why McCarthy got out and Johnson's in. And a lot of people now were saying, well, it shouldn't be that way. It should go back to the way it was before. I like it this way. Now, there's a small Republican majority, so it makes things a little hairy and crazy. But these speakers, they say and this is for both parties. A lot of this is for both parties, guys, because the Uniparty is one party with two different names. It's like the professional wrestlers, right, that don't really hate each other, but pretend when the TV cameras are on. These speakers say everything they've got to say to get elected speaker, and then all of a sudden they're not doing anything that they promised. So I like this thing that they are always held accountable and can be removed as speaker at any time. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mike Johnson were texting each other over the weekend, and they were supposed to meet in person because Congress wasn't in session. They were supposed to meet in person yesterday and work this out, and that meeting never happened. And so it's not known as of now. Now, when you're listening to this later, it may have happened. Everything may have been settled. But as of the moment I'm speaking now, nobody knows if she's going to force a vote on a new speaker.
Well, I have to disagree with you again. I think that people take advantage when there's chaos.
Yes.
Especially liberals. And I think when you set this precedent of replacing speakers over and over again, I think it makes the party look bad. And I think that liberals take advantage of this chaoticness of what's going on. That's just how it seems to me. And, I wish that they would just get their act together. Obviously I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you have people, the rhinos that are working so hard against Trump. I don't know what happened with Mike Johnson. I don't know. He was supposed to be
they
so
got something
great
on him.
And all of a sudden now he's not doing so great. I mean, this seems to be a thing. Would we have been better off if McCarthy just stayed there? Maybe. I mean, I don't know if this chaos. Now, who's going to replace this guy? You know, if there's a threat,
Hakeem Jeffries,
it's almost
probably.
like ancient Rome here.
Yeah.
I mean, if the threat of getting taken off that job, who's going to want that job?
Yeah,
they're going to go after you. And when you constantly replace people because they don't vote a certain way or do exactly as you want, then I don't know if that's such a good thing, because then you're not going to get good people that want to do it. You understand? They're
yeah.
I wonder if we would have been better off if like I said, McCarthy stayed. I think it's just creating a lot of chaos.
Yeah, and then there's another part of the narrative today. And if you notice, all this stuff, the we say there's a new narrative. If you notice, they're coming after Trump from all these directions, right? You've got Biden, you've got Brennan, these other things we mentioned, and then this is right out of the page from that letter with the laptop. 19 retired generals, admirals, and former top Defense Department officials filed Supreme Court brief against President Trump's immunity bid, claiming that Trump's act threatens national security. So you see this whole thing. This is
it's incredible.
Threat to national security, threat to the Constitution. And they're bringing all these people out of the woodwork. And the reason they're starting to do this now is because over the summer is going to be the conventions. Right now, we're in a bit of a lull because the nomination has been decided, right? There's no competition. Trump won it weeks ago, right? It's just not official yet. So over as we get closer to the conventions, things will start to heat up. And they're still making a play because this Stormy Daniels trial is going to begin, jury selection and everything's about to start. With that judge, with the gag orders on Trump, they're going to have that trial going. Who knows what about these other cases by then. So they're still making this play to try to stop Trump from getting the nomination. And I'll tell you guys this, okay?
It's not going to work.
And I want you to think about this, okay? If they were doing this, to the Democrats, I'd say the same thing I'm saying now. Yeah. I really would. Because I know it does. A lot of people may not believe that, but I would. You don't want deep state Defense Department people, retired generals and admirals, and all these other people trying to stop I mean, think about when Obama was running in 2008. I know it's hard for a lot of people to believe this. Can you believe that it's been 16 years since Obama was running unelected? Can you believe it's been that long? That's what happens when you get older. But when Obama was running the first time, it was a big phenomena worldwide because when Obama won in 2008, he was the first black person to be elected leader of a major country. There have been black leaders of other countries, but never a major country. And so it was a big deal. And obviously a big deal here because of, you guys know. The level of his popularity was huge. And it wasn't supposed to be his nomination. It was supposed to be Hillary Clinton's. Hillary Clinton, remember, was running. And the birth certificate, remember, was started by Hillary Clinton's campaign. There was a guy who was one of her campaign managers from Pennsylvania for Hillary Clinton, because I interviewed the guy. I remember when all this happened. He was from Pennsylvania. He was a senior person in Hillary's campaign at the state level in Pennsylvania, but was also working on the national campaign. And he was the first one that asked for the birth certificate and started that narrative. And that was somebody. And Hillary, she was supposed to walk into that in 2008, that nomination and presidency. They had, the Clintons and her.
Who do you think?
Well, think just
before I forget.
Yeah.
Okay. Because as you're saying this, I'm wondering, who do you think did not want her to win? That decided to run Obama.
I'll tell you
because that was not an accident.
So I'll tell you who.
Somebody pushed him through, to destroy her chances.
Yeah. And there were a lot of things that came up about Obama that were very questionable. That Jeremiah Wright was the highlight. I mean, that was some terrible stuff. But if generals and admirals and came forward, and people within his own party started saying, "Well, wait a minute, what are his loyalties and all this stuff?" It would have people would have said, "You can't do this." The people are supporting him. He wins. He was a lot of
it's crazy.
He bypassed Hillary because of the Kennedys. The Kennedys and Ted Kennedy was alive then. Remember, so Ted Kennedy and Carolyn Kennedy backed Obama secretly and got him to beat Hillary Clinton.
Why do you think that is? Why didn't they?
The Clintons,
why do you think they didn't
the Clintons
like
and the
her?
Kennedys obviously don't like each other. I don't know why.
That was
So he was backed by the
end
Kennedys.
for her.
Yeah.
Once, I think Senator Kennedy, wasn't he still alive? Ted Kennedy.
Yeah, he died when Obama was president.
Ted Kennedy came out and endorsed him, and after that happened, everybody endorsed him. Even people that were endorsing Hillary switched.
Yeah.
And everybody endorsed him, and that's when he really took off. That's when I think endorsements meant something. And that's when everybody in the Democratic Party switched. First of all, Hillary was never likable. Okay? I know there's women that like her, but overall, she was never like a really loved, beloved person. I think people were more interested in having a woman be president than her in particular. But then when Barack came around, it was like, well, this is a much bigger deal to have a black man. Are you kidding?
Kennedys recruited Obama to run. They recruited him. They did it through Harry Reid.
They specifically did it to stop her.
But that wasn't a plot like what's going on now. You didn't have this military plot. You didn't have this CIA guy and all these people were. It just the Kennedy said we want Barack Obama for whatever reason. They backed him and it happened. That's legitimate and organic. What's going on with Trump, and we're seeing this happen again, is they're bringing out these deep staters and everything else. And as far as I'm concerned, generals and admirals, even retired ones, I get very uncomfortable when I see people from the military and retired military. You know, these guys, generals and admirals are never really fully retired, okay? Very rarely. They're part of the apparatus. They're still part of the deep state. They're still part of the military-industrial complex. And what I'd like to know about these generals and admirals is what are they doing now to make money on top of their pensions? Because
obviously coming out and making these statements, you think they're doing that for free?
Well, one thing I talk about a lot, when you ever see a retired lieutenant general or lieutenant colonel or retired any military officer giving analysis on military things on any of the cable news, Google them. And more often than not, you'll find that they work for a military industrial contractor. So these admirals and generals, they work for the military industrial complex in retirement, okay, that signed off on this thing with Trump. Trump said he's going to end the war in Ukraine. That is that is so much money lost by the military industrial complex.
It's always about money.
And they don't want these wars to end. They're trying to start up the Cold War II in Europe and have another 40 years of another Cold War. And that tells you
that they know he can end the war.
That's right.
They know he can end it. And that's what they're really, really afraid of. So when they say he's a threat, he's really a threat to their pocketbook.
Correct. Yeah.
Everybody that comes out against Trump has their own personal agenda.
Everything's about money.
It comes all down to money.
Always.
And I think the people are finally seeing, I mean, when you have so many people against you, see, the deep state and the liberals, they think the more people that come out against Trump, they'll finally be able to convince people he's a bad guy. But the opposite is happening. It's really showing the people how corrupt the system is, how they're targeting. It's an overreach. They're targeting him too much. It's too much of an attack. And people are looking at it and they're like, this guy is not, this is not warranted what they're doing to this man. He hasn't done anything, and they see it as an overreach.
That's right.
People are reacting to that. But the one thing they have not been able to accomplish is changing the minds of the American people. It's having the opposite effect.
Yeah. Now, I want to tell you, I just looked at mypillow.com and the spring sale continues. And there are two incredible deals. One is massive that I'm going to share with you right now. The first one, this is incredible, is the MyPillow 2.0. The buy one, get one free offer is back. Kathy and I we have all the different MyPillows.
Oh, yeah.
But we have the MyPillow 2.0s. And, for those of you around the country, it may not be summertime weather yet for you, but we are in South Florida. Alexa, what's the temperature? Okay, so it's 78 degrees. It's going to be in the 80s tomorrow. Yep. And so the warm weather is already here. And the MyPillow 2.0, which is buy one get one free with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, has that temperature regulating technology. It keeps your head and neck the perfect temperature all year long. And I laid down on the MyPillow 2.0 last night, and immediately my head and neck were cool and comfortable. It's beautiful. So get yours, buy one, get one free. Also, the as low as $25 sale continues. Listen to this, Kathy. My slippers, as low as $25 with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. So that is a humongous discount on the MyPillow, My Slippers. Now, you can use our promo code Kane on all the specials at MyPillow.com, not just the ones that I highlight. I tell you guys what I think are the best deals and the must-haves from my own experience. But that MyPillow 2.0 perfect as the weather's heating up, and the My Slippers as low as $25 with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. That's pretty big. That means you can get a pair for yourself and your significant other. So if you'd like to support the program too, make sure you use our promo code Kane. You not only get those great deals, but you're supporting our program. All right, now listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back.
Men, are you tired of looking tired? You can turn your tired eyes into a vibrant and refreshed look with a specially formulated under-eye cream for men at Amazon.com/shops/Meditati. That's MEDITATI. This anti-aging formula is designed to repair and protect your eyes against the common signs of aging. Dark circles, puffiness, and those pesky crow's feet, gone. With Meditati, you'll say goodbye to those tired eyes and hello to a youthful appearance. It's packed with peptides, vitamin C, jojoba oil, green tea, CoQ10, and other essential ingredients. This formula will keep your under eyes bright and refreshed. It also keeps your skin hydrated with the highest quality natural and organic ingredients. It's crafted by skincare experts, and this non-greasy, lightweight formula absorbs quickly and efficiently, nourishing the skin around your eyes. So if you're tired of puffiness and wrinkles, go right now to Amazon.com/shops/Meditati. That's MEDITATI. Don't miss out on this chance to give your eyes the care they deserve, because you and your eyes deserve it. Amazon.com/shops/Meditati. It's another presidential election year, but with all the noise and political division, where can you find clarity and truth? Author Charles D. Patton has written a handbook that provides an unbiased examination of the top 20 issues facing our country. America's Election Handbook 2024. What to know for the 2024 election. With this essential guide to help you navigate the upcoming election, you'll discover the power of civil discourse and informed decision-making. You don't have to think what other people tell you to think. You can look into your heart and mind. Seek out the facts. Decide what's best for yourself, your family, your friends, and our country. Let your voice be heard. Let your vote be informed. Let's build a unified, forward-moving America together with America's Election Handbook 2024. It's also the perfect gift for that friend of yours with extreme political views. Available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and the author's website, CharlesPattonBooks.com. The time for change is now. Let your journey begin and order your copy of America's Election Handbook 2024. What to know for the 2024 election on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and CharlesPattonBooks.com. Are you a parent of a daughter? Then boy, do I ever have a book that I want to tell you about. But Dad, I Love Him, from author Kevin Boyle. It's loved by readers from around the globe, from places like Britain, Australia, Canada, the US, and Germany. Readers have been saying that, but Dad, I Love Him is one of the most captivating and eye-opening books you will ever read. Calling But Dad, I Love Him a book that's rich, insightful, and transformative, and deserving of a place on every woman's bookshelf. If you have a daughter, you are going to want to give her this book. It's a conversation that every parent should have with their daughter about life, love, dating, sex, and relationships. Buy it today. But Dad, I Love Him from author Kevin Boyle. You can find it on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover edition. But Dad, I Love Him is filled with easy to learn, easy to use, step-by-step real-world dating, relationship, and communication tips and strategies that will help any daughter of any age have a deep, fulfilling, loving, successful relationship. Order your copy right now. But Dad, I Love Him from author Kevin Boyle on Amazon. Are you in need of a little encouragement? Are you searching for a spark of intrigue? Could you use a good laugh? Then check out Genesis-Revelation.life. Genesis-Revelation.life is your go-to destination for unique and heartfelt designs that resonate with your spirit. Picture this: thousands of meticulously crafted items, each one with a personal touch, from the whimsical to the profound. The designs at Genesis-Revelation.life cover a wide spectrum, ensuring there's something for everyone. Whether you're drawn to the warmth of Scripture or prefer non-scripture items, they've got you covered. T-shirts, leggings, totes, headbands, crossbody bags, blankets, journals, napkins, aprons, coasters, drinkware, and that's just the beginning. But what sets Genesis-Revelation.life apart from the rest is simple: a sprinkle of humor, a dash of intrigue, and a layer of comfort. Each design tells a story, seeking to connect with you on a deeper level. In a world that often feels impersonal, Genesis-Revelation.life stands out as a place where every item is designed with heart and soul. Tell your story with these unique designs. Shop now and let your spirit shine. And make sure to share the store on all your social media so your friends can discover Genesis-Revelation.life too. Genesis-Revelation.life, where every design is a connection waiting to happen. Start shopping right now. Genesis-Revelation.life.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
The judge in the Stormy Daniels case, some of the questions for the jury have leaked out. I want to go through some of these. And I don't know how many of you have ever been on jury duty. I've gotten called for jury duty. I've never been on a jury during a trial. I did get put on a jury, and they took us into the courtroom and set us down in the jury box. I was very excited. It was a DUI case, and the guy was pleading not guilty. And as soon as they sat us down, he changed his plea to guilty and made a deal. So we got dismissed. And the judge told us that when he saw the jury sitting there, it got real for him, and he made a deal. And I kind of was excited to get to do. I wanted to be on the, you know what I mean? And it was very dramatic when they brought us in, the defendants there and everything, and we sit down in the jury box, and then they made this big deal. They brought in a television, which we were going to get to see the video of when the cops stopped him and everything. And they made a big deal about setting up the video in front of him after we were there. They were trying to scare him, the prosecutor. I guess it worked. But that was because I work in media, I'll never be on a jury. Right? I'll never be on a jury. Although my mother has been on juries and grand juries, and they always ask her what if she has kids. She says, "I have a son. What does he do?" She tells them, and sometimes the judges and prosecutors and lawyers have known me, and they still seat my mom on juries. So my mom gets on jury. But anyway, so here's some of the questions that they're going to ask the jury pool. There's over 40 of them. I'm only going to go through a few. Have you, a relative or close friend, ever worked for any company or organization that is owned or run by Donald Trump or anyone in his family? And then they have they have questions. Then they have A, B, C, D, Have you, a relative or a close friend, ever worked or volunteered for a Trump presidential campaign, the Trump presidential administration, or any other political entity affiliated with Mr. Trump? It's interesting that I understand now you may say, well, these questions are relevant. Well, they're not asking them if they ever worked for Democrats. Everyone in this country, with rare exception, is either a Republican or a Democrat. Right. Because if it depends on, come on. So this idea, it's okay for people to have worked for Biden or support Biden and things like this. But, have you ever attended a rally or campaign event for Donald Trump?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is basically they're going to weed out anybody who is a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form and make sure that they are not. They're making sure the jury is full of Trump haters.
Let me tell you, no matter who the president is, no president can get a fair trial because whoever you are, half the country love you and half the country hates you.
This shows you the fix is in on this because they're
this is the Stormy Daniels trial.
The questions are targeting that to make sure there are no Trump people at all. Anywhere near that jury?
Do you currently follow Donald Trump on any social media site, or have you done so in the past? Have you, a relative or close friend, ever worked for or volunteered for any anti-Trump groups or organizations? Okay, that's good. They got that in there. Have you ever attended a rally or campaign event for any anti-Trump group or organization? So they're asking about liberals now.
Okay.
Who are they going to have on this jury? I mean, this covers almost everybody. I mean, you know. Are you signed up for, or have you ever been signed up for, or subscribed to, or followed any newsletter or email listserv run on behalf of any anti-Trump group or organization? Do you follow any anti-Trump group or organization on any social media? Have you done so in the past? Have you ever considered yourself a supporter of or belong to any of the following? The QAnon movement, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, 3%ers, the Boogaloo Boys.
Are these typical questions? They seem very invasive, and very personal.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, don't they? I mean, is it really their business?
Yeah.
What you do in your free time?
I guess.
I mean, these just seem strange.
Do you have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about whether a former president may be criminally charged in a state court? Do you have any feelings or opinions about how Mr. Trump is being treated in this case? These are very specific questions. Do you have any feelings or opinion? Okay, I'll read that. Can you give us your assurance that you will decide this case solely on the evidence you see and hear in this courtroom and the law as the judge gives it? Do you have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about President Donald Trump or the fact? I mean, this is written very tiny, and I'm reading this off my iPhone, guys, so I apologize for my not so great reading. And it's very faint copies, you know, and I have this turned brightness full. Let's see here. I lost my track. Do you have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about former President Donald Trump or the fact that he is a current candidate for president that would interfere with your ability to be a fair and impartial juror? I don't see how anyone can be a fair and impartial juror against any president, myself. No. Have you ever read or listened to audio of any of the following books or podcasts by Michael Cohen? If so, please let us know. And then there's a whole list of podcasts. The defendant in this case has written a number of books. Have you read or listened to any of them? You know, I guess I like The Art of the Deal.
I don't know how they're going to get a jury out of this.
I'm surprised they don't ask if you ever watched the Celebrity Apprentice.
They might. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you know, let me see if there's any more worth going over here. Let's see here. Can you give us your absolute assurance that you will refrain from discussing this case? Okay, that's another one. That's fine. I did see one. It's not on this list where they were asking if you watch Fox, CNN, MSNBC. You know,
those are the people they want on the jury.
Yeah, right. You watch MSNBC?
That's why they're asking.
You're the jury foreman.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
That to me, those questions are very much pointed in. To weed out and to pick a very certain type of jury.
When in 2016, when everyone was saying lock her up, I said you do not want to start putting first ladies on trial, because if you put first ladies on trial, the next thing you know, they're going to be arresting Donald Trump and putting him on trial. And here we are all these years later, and it happened anyway. You know, when it comes to a president, no president can get a fair trial anywhere. And the people can't get a fair trial because no matter what, half the country hate him, half the country love him. But this trial of Trump is in New York, all right? More than 3/4 of the people hate him. So how are you going to get a jury pool in New York that is fair and will render a fair judgment against a defendant who's a Republican president. It's impossible. Like if Bill Clinton or Obama or Biden were on trial, and they did it here in Florida, depending on what county it was in, but you would have like a MAGA jury pool, right? Like, Trump's case and the documents case is in St. Lucie County, Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida, the documents case. That's a federal case with a judge he appointed, right? That area is one of the strongest MAGA voting blocks in the country, in Florida. And Florida is like the most MAGA state. There's no way that they're not going to get enough Trump-supporting people on that jury to at least hang the jury, right? If they might get one Democrat there. When there are just some people that you can't get a fair trial on. And I think these jury questions, the reason I share them, and this is on top of the fact that Donald Trump should not even be on trial here, not only because he did nothing wrong in that case, they're bringing federal charges against him in a state court, right? This Bragg case with Stormy Daniels is failure to disclose the hush money payments on the campaign finance records of the presidential campaign. That's federal. This judge and Bragg are state level. So they don't even have jurisdiction over this case, okay? So just based on that, this trial shouldn't be happening, and it'll get thrown out on appeal no matter what happens because of that alone. But I share those questions to show you how stupid it is to try to impanel a jury for President Trump. It's impossible.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
It's totally impossible. And what's going on?
But other politicians have been in court and
not at that level. Congress people are different. Kathy, most people don't even know who their congressman is. Senators, House members have and governors and people like that have been on trial, and many have gone to prison. I knew a guy in Congress down here, a Democrat I used to work with at a radio station, and when he was in Congress, he was using campaign funds to pay gambling debts. He went to prison, and he was on an interview on television. He was one of those perp walks, and a reporter said, "Why'd you take the money?" He says, "Why'd you steal the money from your campaign?" He says, "I needed the money." He said, "I needed the money."
He's honest.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But a congressman's not a president. A president, everybody knows them. Everyone has an opinion.
Yeah,
and it's just wrong. And it's a scary place where we're moving in this country because Democrats in New York are doing victory laps right now. We run New York. We got Trump, Letitia James. I promised to do this. I'm going to do this. My whole campaign's about this. And they think it's funny and they've accomplished something. But what they're forgetting is, okay, they're in power now in New York, but they're not always going to be. And things travel full circle. And what's going to happen eventually is Republicans are going to charge a Democrat president. And it's going to become the new normal. And that's what they do in third world countries. In third world countries, leaders, presidents, and prime ministers get arrested and put in prison all the time.
Well, that's what we're headed for. We're headed for...
That's correct.
If Trump doesn't win, we're headed for that kind of area. Now, it says Trump is releasing a new documentary. Now, he's not doing it because he's got gag orders, but his allies... are releasing a new documentary. I'm trying to find. It's called Chasing Trump.
Great title.
It'll be released April 17th, 2 days after a court in New York will have begun jury selection. And it says the producers say it will delve into backgrounds of the prosecutors overseeing each of the cases, and with the former president subject to a New York gag order preventing him from attacking witnesses, prosecute, blah, blah, blah. Chasing Trump is an important documentary that exposes the left-wing prosecutors weaponizing the government to target Donald Trump, John Jr. said. So it comes out April 17th. I'm just trying to see where it's going to come out so people can watch it. But it's called Chasing Trump. It comes out on the 17th. So I'm sure
it's a great title.
It'll be on some platform. And as soon as I put a link in the It says here, Chasing Trump will be available for free at amgreatness.com, amgreatness.com, as well as across all other streaming platforms such as X, YouTube, and Rumble. April 17th, Chasing Trump.
Well, that's great.
I wanted to switch
Love the
gears.
title.
It's a great title. There's two Brian and I like true crime.
Absolutely.
And it's popular. There's two true crime things happening that Brian and I are both following, and I want to get your opinion on. One is this Ethan Crumbley thing, and I put a poll in your community.
Which one's that? Which case is that?
This is where the parents just got sent to prison for 10 to 15 years. Their son did a mass shooting at a school, killed 4 people, 4 beautiful people.
Yeah.
They were all underage, high school, and he was 15. And they have text messages of him now, here's the thing. They have text messages of him telling his friends that he's been asking for help. His parents won't help him. I'm not sure if there's text messages of him directly with his parents saying, help me, and the parents saying, go screw yourself. But anyway, that's what he said to his friends. Also, they're saying that his parents bought him the gun, which is not good. He was a minor, clearly had mental health issues. Anyway, they just got sentenced to 15 years, both parents, for being basically accomplices. And I put a poll question, should parents go to jail for crimes their underage kids commit? So you can choose definitely, no, or not sure.
I think that's insane.
I'm really mixed on this. I think it's a really slippery slope. I mean, what about all the gangbangers that go around killing people that are underage?
Exactly.
Are you going to put their parents on trial too?
Well, Kath, if you remember now,
I mean, it's crazy to me. But at the same time, they did buy him the gun, and he did ask for help, and they did not give it to him. So I think they have some accountability, but I don't know if they should be in jail for 15 years.
I don't know why they would buy a gun for an underage kid that's got problems. I mean, I had my first gun when I was 12, but I didn't really own it, right? It was like my dad's gun. You know what I mean? I got to use it when shooting.
Well, this is going to be a new thing going after the parents
so
of
that's
the
not
shooters.
But in Sandy Hook, the mother got guns and took him shooting out. He killed the mother before he went to the school.
Yes.
And I remember after Sandy Hook, there was discussions that if the mother would have lived, what would her responsibility have been? When I was in high school, there was a car accident where it's been a long time since I was in high school, guys. I'm going to be 53 later in a couple weeks. 53 years old.
So 35 years,
it's a long time ago.
6 years.
So I can't remember how many kids were in the car. They were a couple years older than me. But there was a car accident near the school. All the kids got killed. And the parents of the passengers, there were 3 or 4 passengers, their parents sued the parents of the driver who also died. And I remember I was friends with the sister of the driver. I went to middle school and high school with her, and they lost everything.
Well, but
that wasn't criminal. That's
civil.
That's not criminal.
Like, if you have, say you're out of town and your kid's in high school and they have a party.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't know about it, but they have a party at your house and there's drinking, and a kid drinks at your house and goes out and drives drunk and kills somebody or kills themselves. You can be sued. You are responsible for that, partially for that happening because you had the house and the alcohol was provided in your home, but not criminally. This is a first.
Yeah.
You can be sued civilly, like you said, like they lost everything, for negligence or for having some hand. But to put parents in jail, this kid was 15. He knew right from wrong. He's the one who went and killed these people at the school. He wasn't an 8-year-old. He was 15. He knew what he was doing. And I just worry. I'm not saying his parents are squeaky clean. And I think the mother even said, throw the book at me. Like, she feels so guilty. So I'm not saying they're totally not responsible for some of this. They bought a gun. They knew he needed help. And if you're a gun owner and you have mentally ill children, you need to be very responsible and lock up your gun and because things can happen. You have to be a responsible gun owner or get the guns out of the house, whatever you do. But I just worry this is like going to be the new trend.
Could be.
Now, is that going to help stop these school shootings? Because maybe parents will be more aware of what's going on in their home. Like, Okay, you have Nicholas Cruz, which happened in our neighborhood. Okay, that mother called the police dozens of times.
Well, it wasn't a mother. It was like he had like a guardian.
A guardian, whatever.
And then he had
She called the
grandparents and a
police
guardian.
dozens of times. I think the mother did too. They came to his house.
Yeah.
They had
Dozens
reports.
of times. Different departments.
Dozens and dozens. They did nothing. The principal knew about this kid. They did nothing. So why aren't they in jail?
Yeah.
Aren't they responsible for not doing anything and stopping him?
And there's another.
How is it any different?
There's another angle too. Kids get pissed off at their parents. What if they get pissed off and go commit a crime to get their parents arrested?
Exactly. I mean, you can text your friend anything and say, well, my mom did this. That doesn't make it true.
What if your kid commits, like, these are deaths, but commits like a sex crime, right?
I mean, I'm saying
that happens sometimes too. So are you going to get arrested for sex crimes that you're? I'll tell you, I think it's a bad idea, and a lot of times. I give you, parents have a lot of guilt. Like this really blew me away. I remember after Oklahoma City, Tim McVeigh's father, who had I don't know if he's still alive now, but I remember Tim McVeigh's father had a lot of guilt and felt a lot of responsibility, even though Tim McVeigh was an adult. Yeah, and he actually was part of the grief groups of family members who had lost their families. Sometimes their grandkids and stuff, and remember that daycare center was in there? There were, 169 were killed in the Oklahoma City bombing?
Oh, yeah, it was awful.
And Tim McVeigh's dad was part of the group of family members who would get together on a regular basis, and they were part of a support group. And that blew me away. And then one time we interviewed one of the family members of the Oklahoma City bombing when the execution was coming up, and she was talking about she was friends. I remember she was friends with Tim McVeigh's dad, and I thought that was nuts. So when the parents of kids that commit crimes have a lot of guilt, but what you said is true. If you go out to these areas where there's a lot of gangs in these big cities, okay, and a lot of these gangbangers are 15, 16 years old,
underage,
and they're doing some hardcore felonies. I've never heard anyone suggest that their parents get arrested for those felonies.
The other case we're following is the Apple River, which this case really fascinates me. And I haven't been watching all of I like to watch courtroom stuff, but not for too long. I get a little bored because it's really dragged out, but I'm following it because I want to see what happens. It's all over the Daily Mail. This guy was at this river, okay, and he was with his family, his wife. Yeah. And then there were a bunch of kids, river rafting, where you tie the inner tubes together and you go. People did this when I was in Tallahassee. It was a thing, and you go down the river together and you tie everything together. This guy, what happened is, from what I can glean from what I've read, he's like middle-aged, was with his wife, and he lost his cell phone. He went back. This is what he says. He went back with a snorkel, looking for his cell phone that he says he dropped. There were a group of teenagers, and I saw some of the video, that seemed to be really harassing him, calling him a pedophile, that he was a creep. He was asking the girls for their phone numbers, and they were pushing him. They shoved him down in the water, and it was scary. And I didn't see him doing much, just talking, but then somehow he pulled out a switch, a
knife. He had a knife,
but it's like the kind of knife, like a Swiss Army knife. He pulls out a Swiss Army knife, which are not big. Okay, most guys have them, keep them on their keychain, and a lot of guys carry them in their pockets, just to use for whatever random things. He had a Swiss Army knife, and he stabbed 5 kids, and one of them died, a 17-year-old. So he's on trial now. And I really don't know how I feel about this one. They were harassing him for sure. They were taunting him. He looked scared. You could see there's a video that was released.
They were accusing him of being a pedophile.
Accusing him of horrible things.
Oh, they were accusing him of taking pictures of young girls.
Right. Which is probably,
what started the fight.
I don't know if it's true or not.
The knife, by the way, because I was curious why he had a knife in the river. When you watch the video, there's these inner tubes tied together.
Yeah, they tie them together.
The knife was to cut the rope.
Right. And a lot of guys carry Swiss Army knives around.
I carry a knife all the time.
Yeah, it's very common. So I did see in the video they pushed him down. I mean, you could drown somebody, even though the river was like where they were was maybe 2 or 3 feet deep. You could still drown somebody in water like that if you got enough people on top of you. So anyway, one of the kids died, but they were clearly, it was a gang mentality. And if you're standing there and there's a gang of kids, teenagers around you, taunting you, pushing you, that is a frightening thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I am sure in that moment he felt he was endangered. And I'd really like to know, I'm very curious what the jury's going to rule on this. I don't know if I'd convict this guy. And I want to know, I mean, obviously there were times he could have walked away. There were times he could have, he had moments where he could have just turned around and left, but he didn't. He stayed there and they kept taunting him and he stood there and you could see him getting angry and scared.
Well, they attacked him.
But they did attack him, but he could have walked away.
They hit him in the head, in the face.
Right, they could have walked
him in the water.
So I'm not sure what I would do on this.
Not guilty.
Right now, I'm thinking
I go
no.
not guilty.
But I want to know what you guys think if you're following these 2 cases. But the Apple River murder, it's all over the news, and they're getting ready to well, the guy testified today. The guy that was accused, he testified on his own behalf.
A lot of people over the years have given me a hard time for saying this, but I started thinking this way many years ago that, and we're, I have guns. We own guns. We live in Florida and we have hurricanes and sometimes when there's a hurricane, it hasn't happened the last few years, the last few hurricanes, but sometimes when you lose power during hurricanes, you can lose power for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And when you don't have power for 3, 4, 5 days, it gets really dark at night when there's no power.
They warn you about people robbing you.
You start seeing strange cars coming at night.
They do warn you about that.
So we have guns for home protection. But I always tell people that I don't think it's a good idea to carry a gun out and about. In Florida,
things can happen.
We have concealed carry without a permit. So anyone who does not have a felony conviction and is of age can carry a gun concealed without a permit in Florida. That's new. In the last few months. And I say that gun is most likely to get you in more trouble than get you out of trouble. And this thing with the knife, I mean, I have a knife with me all the time. The main reason I have a knife is because Kathy will have some Amazon packages coming. I like to have the knife. It's easy to open them if I have the knife. But I do go out and about with a knife a lot in my pocket just because you never know when you're going to need one.
Do you think it's weird that he stabbed 5 kids?
It's a lot.
That seems a lot to me. And I don't think the kids knew what was happening. I've seen interviews of people that have been stabbed and they said at first it feels like you've been punched. So I don't think that maybe they knew that he was stabbing, maybe just thought he was hitting people. And then one kid said he looked and he saw his friend, the one who died, like lying down in the water and he was like bleeding tremendously. And that's what killed him. It's just he bled too much. But I don't know. I'd have to be on the jury, but I don't know how responsible.
I think there's guilt on both sides. I think
those kids definitely egged him on.
The kids and the guy, there's responsibility on both sides.
I agree.
So I think it cancels it out. I would go not guilty without even blinking with this guy, and I feel bad for everyone involved. But you just got to walk away.
You do have to walk away, and he did not, and he could have, and that's what I would wrestle with. And also, the kids that were taunting him, I kind of think they're just as responsible for their friend's death.
Yeah.
Because they brought this on. They knew what they were doing.
That's why I say it cancels it out.
Right. I mean, but cancels it out. But why aren't they on trial? Why aren't they on trial for contributing to the death of a minor? Yeah. They contributed to his death. They have some responsibility.
Well, things escalate. I watched the video, which obviously is edited to cut out, so we didn't get to see some of what happened because. But they pushed him down in the river. They're hitting him in the face and the head. His head goes under the water a little bit. That's scary, Yeah, it's pretty scary what happened to him, and it's tragic. If it wasn't for if he just went out there and did it, that'd be different. But because of the mob mentality around him and then throwing him down there.
Yeah, mob mentality. And there were 12 kids.
But the kid,
it's scary.
The kid that he killed, he cut him a lot. I mean, it was a big. I mean,
and he was a skinny guy.
And I'll tell you,
that's the problem.
The day after we saw the video, because I carry a knife in my pocket a lot because you always need it. If I'm at the radio station, sometimes I use it to tighten a screw somewhere or something in the car. There's always a reason to have
guys.
a knife.
A lot of guys carry Swiss Army knives for that.
But the day after we saw the video, I left my knife home that day. Because I thought, I don't know, I don't want it today. After I saw that video of what could happen. Remember I had those guys, think about this. Remember the beginning of last year, I have a YouTube short about this when these my scooter broke down and these guys pulled over and were going to steal it from me. And I was completely defenseless. And all I had was my key. And I put my key between my fingers because they were surrounding me. And I figured if they jump me, one of them's going to get the key in the eye.
That situation.
Now, if I had my knife.
Right. If you pulled out your knife, because the knife you carry is kind of big.
And it's sharp.
If you pulled out your knife because you really felt threatened, which you would have every right to do, but you had the difference between you and this guy is you had nowhere to go. You had a river behind you. You had a canal behind you. And then they were on the other side. You really were kind of trapped. This guy, and if you go to the Law and Crime Network on YouTube, you can watch the trial. This guy, when you see the video, he could have walked away. There was a whole area open where he could have just turned around and left. You know what, Kathy? He did not.
If I had...
I think that's what's going to really seal his fate.
The two guys that rolled up on me to steal the scooter, okay, they didn't have any weapons that I saw.
Right.
So that's what you call like a strong arm robbery. They're going to do a strong arm robbery. But
you were trapped.
But if I had the knife and they may have. What I did when that happened, I was on the phone with you. I was on the phone with Kathy here, my wife, because I was broken down on the side of the road, and I was calling a tow truck, but I couldn't find on my map the exact location I was because I was out in the middle of nowhere. I couldn't get. So I was asking you to ping me so you could get the address because no matter where you are, there's an address even if you can't see it. So I couldn't find it. So I was asking, and the guys pulled up, and I told Kathy, I said, the way they pulled up, I knew. I said, I'm about to get robbed. They're coming towards me. If something happens, call the police and tell them where I'm at. Remember I told you that? And when they got up to me, I didn't tell them I was on the phone with my wife. I pretended I was on the phone with the tow truck driver, and he was just down the street to try to let them know that somebody was going to be here. I was like, but that didn't stop them. If I would have had my knife and they would have gotten closer and I would have used it and they had no weapons, I might be on trial like this guy. And I know a lot of people say, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. And that's I get that.
Sure, I get that.
That's a nice bumper sticker and everything. And I've seen that. The best thing you can do is if you can get away. And it seems to me that except in very specific circumstances, that if you defend your life with force, even especially deadly force, God forbid, but if you defend your life with a weapon of any kind, this is a knife. You usually don't see cases like this with a knife. Usually
not a
see it
Swiss
with a gun.
Army knife.
I didn't know that was a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I read that today. They're not. The blade is maybe 4 inches.
Wow, mine's big. I got like a Rambo knife.
But if you get somebody enough times, this was a skinny kid.
And it's quick.
He did not have a lot of muscle or fat protecting his organs. And you get them in the right organs a couple times, they're out in the middle of the river, they're going to bleed to death.
It seems that if you defend your life with a weapon, you've got to expect to be on trial today.
I think the jury is going to ask, and the guy's testifying right now, I think the jury is going to have to ask themselves, and this is what I would say to myself, okay, he didn't bring the Swiss Army knife there as a weapon. Like I said, men carry those all the time, so that to me is not an issue. But I would say to myself, did he have opportunity to get away and leave? Now, if he would have turned around and left and they started chasing him like Kyle Rittenhouse, that would be a problem. It's hard to say. But we don't know because he didn't leave.
It's hard to run in the water.
But I would ask, could he have left? And he is testifying on his own behalf, and why didn't he? And do I believe that he really felt that he was in some kind of physical danger? Because whether you're in actual physical danger or not is not always the issue. It's whether you think you are. You know what I mean? You might not be in danger, but if you think you're in danger,
that can be subjective when you get to a jury trial.
But if you really are afraid and you really feel your life is in danger, whether it is or not, but you think it is, that matters because that's your perspective in the moment of what's happening.
Well, remember that time? This was when our daughter was little. Our daughter was like 7, 8, or 9. She's 25 now, our daughter, but she was like 7 to 9 years old. And she had to go to we were driving somewhere. She had to go to the little girl's room. So we pulled off at a McDonald's and you took her in. And I was waiting in the car. And I
kind of a bad neighborhood.
And it was a bad neighborhood. And I did something that I never do. I backed in when I parked. I'm not,
because you have a guardian angel that really talks to you. I swear Brian has a guardian angel that just whispers in your ear constantly.
I am not a backer in or parker. A lot of guys are. But I did it this time. And when you came out, there was a guy. He was leaning up against the wall. He started following you and our daughter, and I knew he was going to mug you. So I drove. I didn't get out of the car. Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't know I was.
He thought we were alone.
I was going. Yeah, he didn't know. I pulled the car out and came up and got between you and him. And I made the decision already that if he made a move going towards you, I was going to hit him.
Yeah,
I was going to hit him with the car. Now, if I would have hit that guy and killed him, what would have happened? How can I prove
exactly
that he was really going to mug you? And if he didn't have a weapon, but he was, you could tell. I could tell by the way he was walking.
Well, that's
he was
what
gonna,
I mean.
He was going to do something.
This is when perspective and testimony comes into play, and that a jury might say, "Well, you have no idea what this guy was going to do. Maybe he was just walking out right after."
Yeah,
but your perception of protecting your family, I think, matters. It's the motivation of why you do. You know what I mean? So,
well, in this case, though, again, I'd go not guilty because if I had not seen the video, I don't know what I would have done because I had not.
Yeah, the video is pretty bad.
I had not followed this case, and then I saw on Law and Crime on YouTube. They said, "Oh, we got the video. They're going to show the video of the incident." And I watched, and I was like, I didn't even hear about the case before. And I watched the video, and these kids were acting like a real mad mob of insane.
They were.
It was
scary.
It was like a Clockwork Orange.
It was scary. It was scary.
And when I saw how they were behaving and attacked that immediately. Now, not guilty. Now, I want to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. And if you would like to support the program by becoming a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. Click that link and, well, it'll walk you through on how to become a Patreon supporter, and there are perks and benefits to doing that. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, John, Paulette, Carlos, Mike P, Macho, Wesley, Nick, Rick, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Richard, Alice, K-Mac, LeeZep, Shawna, Constance, George, and Brandon. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And I know some of our Patreon supporters are going to be on our listener cruise in a couple weeks. It leaves April 27th. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the cruise ship. Well, listen, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll talk to you next time.